guys, welcome back to another episode of Year of the Empire. We are going forward with our Ghoulies review series because that's what our fans demanded, and we are reviewing Ghoulies 2.
Yeah, I mean,
what's your thoughts?
I would say I said this earlier when I was talking to him. About on par with the first one. Different, very different than the first one.
Much
I would
different
say
vibe.
It was a very.
This one felt like they were willing to go out and do more.
Yeah.
Instead of just confining into such a small location, it was a whole carnival that this took place in, which was, to me, the gimmick alone was enough to, like...
Didn't it explain how the Ghoulies were there or how they came back?
Not at all.
Not explained whatsoever after... It's not, like, easy to get them to show up.
No.
From what they laid down in the first one in the lore. So, that's a problem. But... I mean, it wasn't a bad movie. It was about... No. If you like the first one, you'll like the second one.
Yeah. So, the way this Ghoulie starts, like we just mentioned, is... It is like a guy who I think might be like a priest has a bag of ghoulies running away from 3 guys in, like, red KKK outfits. And then he goes into, like, this, like, auto repair shop that happens to have a giant vat of, like, acid.
Yeah,
and
acid.
He throws the ghoulies in there. And then he goes in there.
What were the guys? I forgot about the guys in the, like...
No, there's no explanation after that. Now, these red KKK never show up again. So my guess is, like, they summoned the ghoulies, and this guy was like, no.
See, you shouldn't have to guess, though.
It feels like there was a whole movie that came before this.
They had a whole, like, 1.5.
It was such a weird opening because none of this is ever talked about again. The Ghoulies then hitch a ride onto a roaming carnival, and then mayhem ensues. They take up residence in like a haunted house thing, but it's really lame and stupid, which I guess is very carnival-esque. And then they start like killing people in there, and people are like, "Hey, that's so cool!" And they start showing up for that attraction. And honestly, that's the entire movie.
That was the movie in a nutshell, like a very descriptive nutshell.
Yep. Eventually they get out of that and they wreak havoc in the whole carnival, which I found funny because we watched a trailer for it, and almost every scene of the Ghoulies is from that final like 10 minutes where they're like causing mayhem in the whole carnival. So
they got the best parts for the. Which
that's what you wanted, and then you go in and you see much less. Now, one thing I will say that really disappointed me about this is, like the first movie, this is PG-13. I get why they did it, because the first movie made a lot of money by being PG-13. It probably wouldn't have made that if it wasn't. This one, on this Blu-ray we got...
See, the whole reason for the PG-13 is because when they were making these, they were like, hey, we're going to get them in theaters, people are going to see them.
Yep.
And then, later on, I'm sure, and then with Full Moon, it was like, yeah, F it. we're just going to make it violent. We don't care. It's probably going to go direct to VHS anyway. There we go.
But the problem with this is that it feels like it was filmed to be a R-rated movie because we watched a bunch of alternate scenes on this Blu-ray, and in those scenes, like, it showed all these kills from the movie where they actually see, like, the blood and guts. Like,
there wasn't any really blood and guts. It was very, like, you'd see blood, but not, like, the gory blood or guts, which, it doesn't need it. Especially with the Ghoulies, you could tell they were trying to mooch off of the Gremlins crowd. We spoke about this in the first one. We spoke about this in the first one. So I get why they did this. You get a crowd that already was into this type of thing, and then you just going after that.
So trying to get those gremlin money.
I mean, I'd probably
want gremlin money.
The gremlin money. But a lot of movies did try to be gremlins.
In these scenes, like, you saw, like, more blood. Like, there's inside, like, the haunted house, there's, like, that thing where...
I just don't get why they wouldn't be like, hey, here's a special edition that gets...
Yeah, there was no unrated this. It was just separate, which I found weird. It's like that Blade, like, the Pit and the Pendulum kind of thing in the haunted house, which for some reason is legit. Like, instead of being plastic, it's, like, an actual thing that can kill people, which I feel like is just another carnival thing to do. In it, like, you actually see this guy, like, get cut in half, and in the actual movie, like, you just see him get strapped down, and then you just see the bloody aftermath, like, scenes
I
later.
was actually very disappointed at that point, because I was like, I wanted to see that.
I wanted to see Merle die, but Merle couldn't
like,
die.
Zoom. It's like, yeah, that's going to be a good kill. And it's like, what? You robbed me
It really
of seeing
did.
that. You teased me.
And then what made me more mad is that the footage actually existed and they trimmed it down to a PG-13 movie. So it's like, why did they even?
It's almost like they're
film
shooting it and then they're like, yeah, we're gonna make this really bloody and gory and awesome. The money.
Now, personally, I think this was better than the first one, just because people actually die, and like in the first movie, everyone ended up being brought back to life. I feel like they went more into the comedy, which is what they kind of needed to do.
If I know correctly, they lean more comedic as the movies go on too, which it's probably a good idea.
And they followed the whole gimmick of the carnival. I think worked. Like they didn't have a lot to work with, so they went with all these like carnival dumb little gimmicks within the movie.
There's a midget.
There was a midget, which is an actor who appears in a lot of full moon movies too, which was great. But
yeah, I've seen him like older, so it's kind of want to see him get a little younger.
So, anyways, we don't have a lot to say about Ghoulies 2.
No, if you like Ghoulies 1, you'll like Ghoulies 2.
I thought it was a step up.
I can't vouch for Ghoulies 3 and
Ghoulies go to college, if you will.
So I can't vouch for those.
So maybe we'll review Ghoulies 4 and 3. I don't know why I said 4 and 3 and not 3 and 4, but maybe we will. Maybe we won't. We'll see. But yeah, honestly, compared to the other Empire Pictures movies, I think this stands was where we're at right now. Like, I do personally think it's better than Ghoulies 1. I don't think Ghoulies was the best. It might have been the most competently made of the Empires up until this point, but I don't think it was the best one.
I think we said that in the last one. It wasn't a...
it wasn't my favorite.
I don't know. There was other ones I enjoyed more. Doesn't mean they were better movies, but...
Maybe Metal Storm. That was fun. But honestly, I feel like out of these Empire Picture movies, we haven't hit the stride yet. And whether or not we ever will, or if it'll literally just be Re-Animator and then they're all like this middle of the road stuff, is also a possibility.
I think Re-Animator is going to be the outlier, and they just appear in a whole like chart of down heres.
So yeah, I feel like they're going to be like this, but.
That's the whole reason we say gimmicks, and then our gimmick is we review old crappy movies.
Empire is our gimmick.
We're not like reviewing, cream of the crop. Like everybody's like, that's a good movie. We're trying to give our opinions on movies that the average person probably will never watch. Maybe we got a few people to watch something. There we go.
Possibly. If you watch any Empire Picture movies because of us, then we did our job, I guess. I don't know.
Charles Band, send the check.
So another thing that I think is important was these Empire Picture reviews is that we kind of hold it, I think, to a higher bar than we do the Full Moon movies, because Full Moon, some of the stuff we did in our year of the Full Moon was crap, and we might not have said so. We might have been more lenient on it, but they were objectively
there was times
crap.
I was very not lenient with them. And these you could tell these are better made movies. Even this one, they use a sound stage for the carnival. It looks like it's outdoors, but apparently it was all on a sound stage.
And they were able to control everything there.
Which helps with sound, lighting, and stuff. So that's a pretty cool thing. You'll never see that happen with Full Moon.
They can't afford that stuff. Another thing that I think is of note is, one, all the Ghoulies puppets from before come back, and then there's like a flying one that I don't remember seeing. But they really up the ante, I think, on these puppets because they're more articulate and they do more stuff. There's also a lot of shots where
articulated.
Articulate
would be like well spoken.
They are not well spoken.
They sound like Donnie.
Oh my god! They're every time they're on screen, they're going.
Yeah, it's just like them existing is
just them walking about.
Nothing going on. Just like just sitting here, me existing like this. Them existing.
It's just their stationary sounds.
It was They also had a gigantic one.
I probably should have mentioned that. So at the end, when all the Ghoulies are causing havoc, they get this book that they're able to get rid of the Ghoulies. But
where's they found the book again?
So the drunk guy, there's a drunk guy named Ned that continuously drinking the entire movie.
I had a special place in my heart in this movie.
He practiced magic, and then he gave it up. But apparently magic's real, and they use his book to make a pentagram.
Luckily, he had a book that's related to the Ghoulies.
It summons a gigantic Ghoulie, so it's it's weird because it was like a Ghoulies body, so you can tell it's a guy in a suit, but the head is huge. So obviously it was just a guy walking around with just an animatronic head going.
It kind of looked like, what was it, Pigman or whatever from Ultra Q. Just the mouth of it.
Yeah, I gotta throw up a picture of that so people know what the hell we're talking about.
Yeah, because I don't think people.
Deep cut right there.
I don't think people.
Ultra Q.
But that's what I was just thinking about. The stationary, just like face of it.
I'll just throw all the pictures of Pigman up there. But anyways,
there we go.
It was just a.
And then he started eating them.
Yeah, so this giant ghoulie went around eating all the other ghoulies, which is actually kind of cool. There was one time where he like takes this one ghoulie and he's like bringing it closer to his mouth, and the ghoulies, this tiny ghoulie's like freaking out, going and it was like they were both very articulate in that scene. And then eventually they just blow up the big ghoulie because he ate all the little ones, except the one that came out of the toilet. And don't worry, guys, a ghoulie came out of the toilet and it actually like I think ripped a guy's balls off or something. I don't know. Again, it wasn't
heavily
seen.
hinted.
But it was more than because
they missed an opportunity to show a ghoulie holding testicles.
See, this was R, and they should have.
They should have just had like a shot underneath where you just see the hairy scrote hanging down and just. That's a visual for you.
Sadly, that doesn't happen, but. As you know, like the whole marketing of Ghoulies was a ghoulie coming out of the toilet, and they just filmed
homage.
in the first one, the ghoulie coming out of the toilet was an afterthought, so they just filmed a quick shot of it and put it in there. This one, you can tell they actually had it in the script beforehand, and they actually did something with it.
They already had the idea in there.
We're
putting it in there.
No script, no scrote like pulling, but still good.
Scrote pulling.
And then
any horror movie that has a scrote pull in it, will automatically get an A+ from me.
And then along with that, I also they had some. Stop motion in this movie. So even though sometimes the compositing wasn't great,
the compositing was bad.
The actual stop motion was
really
cool.
good.
It was cool watching the ghoulies walk around because typically these puppet movies we don't see that.
The compositing, you can see the green around them at some point. It's like that's ugly.
Yeah, but the actual movement of it was pretty cool, and they got the same guy to come back to do the main puppeteering for it. So
sexy.
Ghoulies wise, like the actual the puppetry for it, it was good. I think it might have been even a notch above Ghoulies. So honestly, I do think this is better,
I know they refurbished some of the puppets
right.
from the first one. Some they had to completely redo.
Yeah. So
I'm sure they added
there was some good stuff. I think they were just more articulated in this one. Not articulate though.
I don't know if the third one will hold up. Maybe we'll have to do that at some other time.
Maybe we'll review Ghoulies Go to College. And if we don't, the next year of the Empire review will be Trancers, which is I've seen it. It's a good movie. So spoiler review, it's good.
We'll see.
You'll be the judge of that.
Not as good as Hidalgo.
Gotta review Hidalgo.